Hey, I'm just wondering, could you possibly leave me a 5-star review today? Now listen, don't worry, take your time, flick onto my podcast and just scroll through to the bottom. I'm waiting. Now there are 5 stars there. Don't click 1. No. Please click 5 for me. That would be amazing. So let's get on with the podcast today. Let me ask you a question. Are you superstitious? And if you are, then keep listening. If you're not, keep listening, because I can almost guarantee that once you've heard this podcast, you'll find there are some things that you do in your life that are based on superstition, whether you know it or not. So let me ask you a few more questions. Do you avoid walking under ladders because it's considered bad luck? Does finding a 4-leaf clover bring you good luck? Is the number 666 for you associated with bad luck or evil? Do you cross your fingers for good luck? Okay, so those questions are obvious superstitions. But there are others that some think are habit, but maybe they are superstitions. Do you always use the same burner on the stove? When someone sneezes, do you say, bless you? Would the flight that you've booked for Friday the 13th leave you feeling a little off? So are you superstitious? Or do these superstitions absolutely mean nothing to you? I'm Kate Mason and welcome to Parenting and Personalities. This is the podcast that connects you to the ones you care about the most. Now, I'm really glad you're joining me today because we're getting into a topic that's both intriguing and a little mysterious. So this last weekend, we were chatting with family and friends when the topic of superstitions came up. Thanks to my daughter Cassie's wedding, it stirred up all kinds of beliefs about what should happen on that big day. What we discovered was that there's a treasure trove of wedding superstitions, many rooted in cultural traditions. And honestly, once you see the logic behind them, you might not cling to these beliefs as tightly as you did before. So here are a few that we talked about. Something old, new, borrowed and blue. Most of us know this one. It's all about ensuring good fortune. Something old symbolises continuity. Something new brings optimism. Something borrowed means borrowed happiness. And something blue stands out for purity, love and fidelity. What a lovely way to cover all those bases. Now, seeing the bride before the wedding. This superstition warns of bad luck if the couple see each other before the ceremony. It dates back to arranged marriages, where the groom might back out if he caught a glimpse of his bride too soon. In the Western world, this is not a serious matter, but honestly, in some cultures, it still carries great weight. Speaking about weight, carrying the bride over the threshold. Now, this one hails from ancient Rome, where they believed evil spirits lurked in the threshold of a new home. By carrying the bride over, the groom was thought to protect her. Rain on your wedding day. Now, while that rain might seem a nuisance, many cultures view it as a sign of fertility and fresh start, washing away the past troubles. So if you find yourself under a rainy sky on your big day, remember, it might be a stroke of luck. So with all these interpretations, if you're a realist like me, you might start to loosen your grip on many of these superstitions. After our lively discussion about wedding traditions and superstitions, we drifted into chatting about other superstitions. As we were discussing these, I got up from the table and I started unpacking my new shoes on the kitchen counter. Because honestly, what's wrong with that? They're brand new, right? Then someone chimed in, hey, you know that's bad luck. Seriously? New shoes on a kitchen counter are bad luck? I mean, come on, they're not even dirty or worn out. Obviously, I'd missed this superstition, but I couldn't let it go without some investigation. So I did a little digging into why this exists. Have you ever heard of it? I certainly hadn't. So let's take a look at it together. In many cultures, putting new shoes on a counter is thought to invite bad luck, especially when it came to finances and health. The reasoning behind this superstition varies, but it often relates to the idea that shoes carry dirt and outside energy, which isn't exactly welcome in spaces where we prepare food. Plus, shoes represent travel and movement, symbolizing the journey of life. So placing them on a counter might disrupt the positive vibes in your home. Phew! It's a good thing I'm all about travel and movement. My shoes are nice and clean. This is definitely one superstition I'm not adding to my list. As we chatted, we all realised how many superstitions we actually have. I'd never really thought about it before, but now that I do, I definitely have several superstitions. Let me share a couple that come to mind. Whenever I go on a plane and it takes off, I count to 120. My sister-in-law once told me that the chances of the plane going down after the takeoff diminishes after 2 minutes. Now, if Cassie's with me, she looks at me and just waits for the thumbs up when I finish. Now, I never considered this superstitious behaviour, but it totally is, because I do it every time I fly. So do you have patterns of behaviour that you engage in before certain events that feel a bit out of your control? Have a think about it. Today you might just uncover a few superstitions of your own. This whole conversation got me reflecting, and I realised that I carry around a little wooden necklace in my handbag. So why do I do this? A girlfriend gave it to me years ago and said, "I'm giving you this so that you always have something wooden to touch, because you say touch wood so frequently, and you're always looking for some wood." This is so true, and I use this necklace frequently on my husband's head, whichever is closer. Now, I've no idea where that phrase came from. Do you? Are you someone who touches wood just in case? Or do you sit there with your fingers crossed for good luck? How funny it is once you start talking about it, you realise that we all have a ton of superstitions. What about you? What do you think? So let's take a look at the origins and history of superstitions. I found this really interesting because I've never explored why we maintain these behaviours, even though deep down most of us know that they're not really true. Now, this is because superstitions have deep roots in our psychological and cultural backgrounds. They arise from our innate desire to understand and control the unknown. As humans, we're hardwired to seek patterns and explanations, especially during uncertain times. When faced with unpredictability, like the outcome of a battle or severity of a storm, we often turn to rituals or beliefs that we hope will sway that outcome. Superstitions are these fascinating little practices that offer comfort when we fear the unknown. They're tied to fate, luck, and sometimes mystical forces, often stemming from cultural traditions or personal experiences. So let's explore some of those superstitions from history and different cultures around the world, and then we're going to briefly delve into how our personality types, especially with the MBTI framework, relate to these beliefs. I encourage you to think about your own experiences with superstitions. Do you have any that you follow? And if you have any, do they relate to your background or cultural heritage? Now, in ancient Rome, augury was a fascinating practice where priests known as augurs interpreted signs and omens, especially from birds and other animals, and they used these to predict future events or understand the will of the gods. For instance, if a flock of birds flew to the right at night, it was seen as a positive omen, while a leftward flight was considered bad news. Now, this practice provided guidance and helped leaders make important decisions for their communities. In Greece, superstitions were deeply rooted in their society. The Greeks believed in fate, which was often symbolized by the 3 fates. To win the favor of the gods, Greeks engaged in various rituals, like making sacrifices at altars, consulting oracles, and this showed how closely superstition and religion were intertwined in their culture. Now, such beliefs as these are not only guided by individual behavior, but also influenced by the broader societal norms around life and after death. Some superstitions have developed as a response to significant historical events. Take the Black Plague in the 14th century, for instance. Many people turned to superstitions to make sense of the random deaths that were happening all around them. Some believed that carrying certain herbs or avoiding specific behaviours would protect them from the disease, while others unfairly blamed witches or marginalised groups, which led to tragic witch hunts fueled by fear. Similarly, wars also shaped superstitions. During World War II, soldiers from various cultures engaged in rituals before heading into battle. Many carried lucky charms or performed specific actions to ensure their safety, which gave them a kind of sense of comfort and a feeling of control in those life and death situations. Ultimately, the origins and history of these superstitions reveal a lot about our collective psyche. They're not just whimsical beliefs. They reflect our fears, our cultural identities, and our historical context. Now that we've explored the origins and historical context of superstitions, let's take a journey around the globe and discover some interesting superstitions from various cultures. And we'll see how ancient beliefs have persisted and evolved in modern times. Now, because superstitions can vary widely, they still reveal deep insights into our culture's value and beliefs. And what they do is they provide with us a sense of belonging and a collective identity. This cultural transmission of beliefs can be observed in many societies, including ours, where rituals passed down through generations help to maintain the order in chaos of life. When faced with the fear of the unknown, whether it's illness, natural disasters, or interpersonal conflict, people cling to superstitious beliefs, hoping that they can avert disaster or bring about good fortune. Now, these views help individuals search for ways to regain control over their lives. The act of performing a ritual, such as carrying a lucky charm or avoiding certain numbers, can provide a really comforting sense of agency when everyone feels out of control. Think about it. How many times have you avoided walking under a ladder? Not just for safety reasons, but the little voice in your head that tells you, you know this is bad luck. Or knocked on wood to ward off that bad luck. Do you know whether these actions really worked? They might not change the outcome of your day, but for many of us, it actually does give us the self-control when life is feeling that bit unpredictable. So let's start our superstitious journey with breaking mirrors, the one-time classic superstition. So you've probably all heard that if you break a mirror, you're in for 7 years of bad luck. Now, where did that come from? It turns out that the Romans believed that mirrors were more than just a way to check whether you've got a bit of spinach in your teeth. They thought mirrors reflected not only our faces, but our souls. Imagine that. They believed that a person's soul renewed every 7 years. So if you broke a mirror, that would damage your soul's reflection and result in a lengthy period of misfortune. Phew. So next time you break a mirror, maybe take a moment to say goodbye to your soul for 7 years. Let's move on to the mysterious black cat that crosses your path. Now, in Western cultures, this cute little creature is unfairly tagged as an indication of bad luck. Seriously, it's just a cat. But here's the thing. In many other cultures like Japan and Scotland, black cats are considered good luck. How confusing is this? You're walking down the street and a black cat crosses your path, and if you're in the West, you're like, oh my goodness, I'd better avoid that job interview today. But in Scotland, they're thinking, woohoo, bring on prosperity. So next time a black cat crosses your path, just remember, it might just be trying to bring you some good fortune, or maybe it just wants a snack. Who can say? Then there's the trusty horseshoe. Hanging a horseshoe above your door is like putting a welcome mat up for good luck. This superstition goes back to ancient Europe, when people believed that iron could ward off evil spirits, because who wouldn't be scared of a good horseshoe? And plus, the crescent shape of the horseshoe is thought to symbolize the moon, which has been long associated with fertility and good fortune. So when you do hang that horseshoe, not only are you inviting good luck into your home, but you might just be ready to expand your family. Well, at least according to superstition. Just remember, hang it the right way. If it's upside down, you'll just end up being showered with bad luck instead. Talk about pressure. So let's delve into some lesser-known superstitions that might surprise you. First of all, we have the number 4 in the Chinese culture. Now, this isn't just any number. This is a number that sends shivers down the spine of many. You see, in Chinese, the word for 4 sounds a lot like the word for death. This superstition is so strong that people go to great lengths to avoid anything associated with 4. Room numbers? No thanks. License plates? No way. Letterboxes? It's a prime example of how language can shape cultural beliefs and behaviours. Now let's talk about the classic move, throwing salt over your left shoulder. I've been doing this for years. No idea what it means. The belief is that spilling salt is an omen of misfortune, and by tossing some over your left shoulder, you can blind those evil spirits that are lurking just behind you, waiting to take advantage of your clumsiness. Just make sure that it's not the waiter that you hit with the salt. It's intriguing how these rituals persist across various cultures, with many people throwing salt and not really knowing why. Just remember, next time you do drop that salt, a quick toss can turn your mishap into a magical moment. Now, who hasn't knocked on wood at some point? This superstition is practiced in many cultures as a way of avoiding bad luck after making a hopeful statement. The origins trace back to ancient beliefs that spirits and deities resided in trees, which makes knocking on wood a way of seeking protection from these friendly spirits. So next time you're praying for good fortune, give that wood a good knock. Who knows, you might just summon up some positive vibes. And lastly, we have that beloved tradition of tossing coins into fountains or wishing wells. When you toss a coin to make a wish, it's thought to bring good luck and increase the chances of your desires being fulfilled. If you see the crowds at Fontana di Trevi in Rome, you'll know that this superstition is not dead. There are people of all ages kissing coins and throwing them over their shoulders into the fountain. Which I must admit, the cynic in me says, well, that's a lot more money for the Roman Council. This tradition dates back to the ancient beliefs that the water held magical properties, and by throwing a coin into the water, you're offering something of value in exchange for the universe's favour. Now, getting back to our initial superstition discussion group, we began talking about sport and rituals. Now, one of the people in the group had played soccer in his youth, and he shared a ritual that he used before every match. He made sure that he put his socks and boots on in a very specific order, and it turns out that he's not alone. He mentioned that a bunch of his teammates had similar superstitions, little routines that they swore by to make sure they were bringing their best game to the field. These routines were like mental boosters for them. Following these rituals helped them believe they could play at their absolute peak. And honestly, isn't that the power of superstition? It's all about creating a mental edge that can be especially crucial in high-pressure situations. Now, in light of this talk, let's talk about the sports where superstitions run rampant. Many top athletes across various disciplines have their own quirky rituals that help them focus, manage anxiety, and yes, even invite a little good luck into their lives. Here's a fun overview of some of the top athletes. Let's begin with the one and only Rafa Nadal. He's a tennis star with so many rituals, but let's take a look at a few of them. Now, Nadal insists on placing his water bottles in a precise manner on the court, with the labels facing the end he's sitting on. He does this after every break in the match, adjusting them like a meticulous artist rearranging his masterpiece. This little ritual helps him stay calm and focused. Before every serve, Nadal's series of habits include tugging at his shorts and brushing his hair behind each ear. This is a comforting routine that keeps his mind focused. Consistency and order? Check. It's like his mental preparation before he smashes that tennis ball. Speaking of tennis legends, let's not forget Serena Williams, who had her own set of superstitions that kept her at the top of her game. During tournaments, Serena would wear the same pair of socks for every match. She believed it brought her good luck. And before she served, she bounced the ball 5 times, a habit that she's been following for years. Now, this ritual helped her focus and ensured that she was ready to deliver her best serve. Now, David Beckham is famous not only for his soccer skills but also for his superstitious habits. He has a reputation for being obsessively organised. We're talking about making sure that items like cans in the fridge are in even numbers, and he'll even rearrange hotel rooms just to make sure everything's in line. His need for symmetry is said to provide him with a sense of control. Beckham also used to wear a new pair of soccer cleats for every game, believing that fresh shoes would bring him luck and a mental edge. Let's take a look at another soccer star, Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, Ronaldo insists on being the last player to walk out on the pitch before a match. He believes this gives him a mental edge, like he's kind of walking out in his own personal spotlight. When he starts stepping onto that field, he always steps first with his right foot, seeing it as a positive omen. And last but not least is the iconic Michael Jordan. Now, Jordan famously wore his University of North Carolina shorts underneath his NBA uniform for good luck throughout his whole professional career. He believed they carried the success and spirit of his college days. Now, these athletes' superstitions add a layer of ritual and consistency to their game, which helps them excel under pressure. Whether it's wearing specific items or following precise routines, these habits often give athletes a sense of control and stability in high-stake environments. It's about creating a mindset that empowers athletes and other people to perform at their best. Who knows? Maybe we should all adopt a few superstitions of our own to help tackle life's challenges with a little extra confidence. These superstitions, both common and unique, highlight the diverse ways culture can interpret luck, fate, and protection. They offer us not only a glimpse into the values and fears of different societies, but a connection of our shared humanity. As we navigate our daily lives, it's really interesting to reflect on how these beliefs might influence our actions, even if we're not consciously thinking about them. Phew, all right. So let's just take a moment to look at your Myers-Briggs type indicator personality and just see if there are any factors there that might make you more or less superstitious than others. It's interesting to consider how our personalities shape not just our preferences in life, but how we approach uncertain and sometimes the bizarre world of superstitions. When we think about which personality types might be more inclined to embrace superstitions, we often find a connection with specific traits. Those who have an intuitive, big-picture preference might be more likely to lean into superstitions, because intuitive types tend to focus on possibilities, abstract concepts, and the bigger picture, and they often enjoy exploring the unknown, and they might find comfort in rituals and beliefs associated with superstitions, seeing them as ways to connect with deeper meanings or potential outcomes. Now, in contrast, the more detailed, sensing types are probably more grounded in reality and practical experiences, and they might be less inclined to engage in the superstitions. They often prefer to rely on tangible evidence and experiences rather than abstract beliefs, and they might question the efficacy of superstitions and focus more on rational decision-making. Now, personality types with a feeling preference might also be more attuned to superstitions. Feeling types often prioritize emotional experiences and the feelings of others, and they might embrace superstitions for the comfort and the connection they provide, and use them as tools for emotional support or ways of bonding with others who share the same beliefs. For instance, a feeling type might partake in rituals like tossing a coin for luck because it connects them to family traditions or shared experiences, and it reinforces their emotional ties with their community. This reliance on superstitions for emotional support is a way for feeling types to navigate anxiety and uncertainty in a comforting manner. Conversely, thinking types typically approach life with a more analytical and skeptical lens. They may engage in superstitions on an intellectual level, but are less likely to adopt them as part of their personal belief and practices. They may view superstitions as merely folklore or irrational practices, and prefer to rely on logic and reasoning. For these types, the idea of carrying a lucky charm might seem unnecessary or really silly, leading them to dismiss superstitions altogether. This analytical approach can sometimes create friction in relationships with other more superstitious individuals, as thinking types may inadvertently dismiss the emotional significance that such beliefs hold for other people. It's also worth noting that extroversion and introversion preferences can play a role in how superstitions are expressed and shared. Extroverts might be more vocal about their beliefs in superstitions and enjoy sharing stories and engaging in rituals with others. An ESFP like myself might host a gathering where guests share their superstitions, creating a lively communal atmosphere. In contrast, introverts might hold superstitions more privately. They may rarely discuss their beliefs with others, finding personal comfort in their belief without needing that external validation. This internalization can create a unique relationship with superstitions where the belief is more about personal significance than social interaction. In summary, our MBTI personality types can significantly influence how we relate to superstitions, and it adds another layer of complexity to our understanding of them, reminding us that our beliefs and practices are deeply intertwined with who we are as individuals. So as we wrap up, I'd really like to challenge you with a few questions. What superstitions do you hold, if any? Do you have a lucky charm or a specific routine that you believe will bring you good fortune? How do you think your personality type influences your beliefs about luck and superstition? Are you more likely to embrace them or approach them with skepticism? Have you ever considered how your cultural background might shape your views on certain superstitions? For instance, how might your upbringing influence your thoughts on the number 4 or black cats? And lastly, can you think of a time when a superstition, whether you believed it or not, affected your decisions or feelings? And did it help you feel more confident, or did it create anxiety? Please take a moment to reflect on these questions. Superstitions are more than just fun little quirks. They're deeply rooted in our cultures, and they can reveal a lot about who we are. And whether you find comfort in them or roll their eyes at their stupidity, they're part of human experience, and they connect us all in some way. And before we wrap things up, I just want to touch on one last important point. As we've explored today, we all embrace many different and fascinating superstitions, some of which might seem a little different, while others are deeply rooted to our cultures. But here's the thing we need to feel mindful about, and that is how we share our beliefs. Forcing your superstitions onto others can create conflicts of belief systems and may even plant superstitious ideas in someone's mind that really don't hold any weight in today's culture and society. Remember, superstitions often stem from fear or long-standing beliefs rather than cold hard facts. So be careful what you believe in and share, because our minds can play some pretty powerful tricks on us. Ultimately, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, it's all about understanding the roles these superstitions play in our lives and appreciating the diversity of thought that comes with them. So as you go about your day, keep an open mind and maybe even have a little fun with it. After all, who doesn't need a bit of luck now and then? And thanks for joining me with this journey through the world of superstitions, and I'll keep my fingers crossed that you enjoyed today's show, and I touch wood that you'll share it with others and leave me a 5-star review. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did, and until next time, stay clear of ladders and black cats. Thanks for listening to Parenting and Personalities. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could leave a rating and a review. That would help others learn about the podcast. And if you're interested in discovering more about you and your family's personality types, you'll find my book, Who Is This Monster or Treasure in My House, on Booktopia or Amazon. And if you have an episode idea, please send a note to thepersonalitycoach@gmail.com. Many thanks to our producers at Stories and Strategies, and we'll see you next time.